Hey YouTube, Awesome Writer here. This is going to be my video talking about the top 5 best things about the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection so far. We're a few years in now, and the Lightning Collection has become an immensely popular thing in the fandom to talk about and discuss and collect, and I thought it would be time to take a look at the best and worst of it. The worst of it will be the next video. Before we get started, I just want to remind you guys to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe and ring that bell for more content like this and more. But let's go ahead and start with the positive stuff and talk about all the things I like about it. And at number 5 is the art and presentation, meaning, you know, the artwork we have on the boxes and just the general presentation. You know, not everybody collects the boxes or appreciates them or whatever, but I think it's, whether you throw them away or keep them, I think it's a good thing to have like a good looking presentation that makes the line look cool. And not only that, but it's very uniform, so I really appreciate that I feel there's a nice branding to that makes it feel like a collector's line when you're buying it. Not to mention, I think the art is really good, so if you are somebody that happens to save your boxes, or I know I've seen some people that will display the figures in front of them, whether it's on the front or on the sides like a book, or if you're just like me and like you might put out some boxes that look cool, like Omega's is closed so I have it out somewhere, but sometimes the boxes will just end up lying around my house in between reviews, so at least it's not ugly to look at, and I think that's been one of the coolest things about the Lightning Collection aesthetically. Coming in at number 4 is the civilian heads and the accessories. Again, the civilian heads aren't for everyone. I know there's some people that don't like them. It's kind of weird because I really do like that we have them. I think it's something unique and something cool, but I very rarely use them, oddly enough, but I just really do like that. I mean, I think back to those old Mystic Force figures for the Mystic Legend mode, and I thought it was, welcome to Team Mystic Legend. I remember being really excited for those because we hadn't gotten stuff like that too often since the flip heads, and I thought that was really neat. So I was glad to see that back. They're very hit and miss on the sculpt sometimes, but I think they're improving. But I just like having the option if I want it, and I think the coolest thing about it is being able to mix and match. Like, you can do your own fanfic Rangers, like what if Adam was in Space Red, or Time Force Purple. That doesn't even exist, but you know what I mean. Like, you can put them on different people and do your own fanfic things, or in the case of Rangers that have assumed different mantles, you can swap them up, like with Bridge and all the SPD Reds there's been. I really like that ability, and it kind of allows you to play with some uniqueness of your displays a little bit. And then accessories-wise, you know, there's also been some misses sometimes where things aren't included, and like weird stuff where some Zeo figures have some weapons and some don't. But for the most part, I think they all have the accessories I want, and they also do have, at times, some unique accessories that can be kind of fun. Number 3, this is one is a kind of a weird one to articulate, but it's that I feel that Hasbro seems to be listening in terms of the Lightning Collection. The fandom is very vocal about the Lightning Collection, to say the least, and I'm not saying the Lightning Collection is perfect, but from what I see, in regards to when new things are released, or when I'm watching a Fan Friday, or seeing anybody that's in charge of the Lightning Collection answer questions, I feel that they are legitimately listening to what people are saying, and paying attention to feedback and what's selling, and trying their best to improve it each time they come out with a new wave or a new product. And again, they're not perfect, and I know they get a lot of heat a lot of the time, but I feel that there has been incremental improvements to show they're listening, you know, fixing stuff like the White Ranger's helmet, which would have been pretty awful not to fix. Like, honestly, I would have even just been happy of them just coming out with a new shipment with the new visor, but they replaced it for free, and then they're going to be fixing Red Ranger's helmet. It's not going to be a replacement, but they're steadily making improvements, and I appreciate the effort, and I see it. It's not going to all be fixed overnight, but I do see some little fixes here and there to things that go between waves. And some people think things get worse between waves, but I think for the most part, I just see signs that they're trying their best to improve as we go along in the life of this line. Number 2 is, this is general sculpting. General sculpting, by that I mean that I think that they're generally one of the more accurate figure lines from Power Rangers. Again, I know that they can take heat for certain things, and sometimes paint's not 100%, and there are some off helmet sculpts like MMPR Reds, and I think MMPR Blacks too a little bit. So I'm not saying they're perfect, but I'm just saying for the most part, in terms of comparing it to a lot of the Power Rangers figures we've gotten in the past, I think it's one of the more accurate sculpts in terms of most of the helmets are at least in the neighborhood of accurate. The general body shape is more accurate rather than the Roid Rage Rangers, which I was never that mad at compared to some people, which I feel like is the story of my life in the fandom. But in general, I think that they are more accurate than most figures as a line goes. Like, there's been exceptions here and there. Like, there were those Super Legends, I think it was Green Ranger and RPM Black and Red, which were a different kind of accurate, but I thought they were pretty accurate. I still love the Jungle Fury molds as being more accurate, but I'm just saying in general, as far as like a body of work, I think that they're more accurate than most. And then, again, with making improvements, like when the Red Ranger's helmet isn't right, I think from now on they're going to have a more updated one. And that's kind of the same thing they do with Star Wars and Marvel. So I think just for the most part, it's the closest we've gotten to a line being consistently like what we see in the show. My number one thing personally is the variety. Just the sheer variety of what we've gotten in a relatively short amount of time. Like, this line is pretty young, all things considered. And you know, a lot of people will still complain saying we're getting too much MMPR, and we have gotten a lot of MMPR stuff and MMPR like side stuff like the comics and the metallics and stuff, because they kind of have to put it in the mix because that's what sells well. It's just like with the comics, you know? As much as I might not like it sometimes, unfortunately, in order to do business, you have to sell to the bigger audience too that's going to recognize it more, not just our tiny little fandom. So I get that. But that being said, even with a decent amount of MMPR stuff, I don't feel it's been oversaturated, and we've actually gotten a fair amount of different things. Like, just the sheer amount of different things we've gotten in the last few years has really surprised me. And not only different things, but obscure things I never would have thought of, like the A-Squad. I mean, given that Hasbro with Star Wars and Marvel will do more obscure figures, I didn't think it was outside the realm of possibility, but the A-Squad certainly wasn't something I expected to see so soon. And even completing the Psychos, or doing stuff like the Monster line, delving into more of the Comic Rangers, I know that that's MMPR offshoot, but I consider that to be something kind of special. And I just really appreciate the fact that we're diving in to these more obscure Rangers and casting a wider net so soon into the life, so you don't just have a certain amount of them. Not to mention, lately I feel they've really been trying to start completing teams, so they're kind of narrowing it down so every wave we get a little bit closer. So I think there's been a really nice variety about it, and I'm really happy with it. I think that they've actually struck a pretty good balance between MMPR stuff and like stuff that the hardcore fans will like, and I really appreciate that. But that is my list. I want to know what your guys' list is. What are your favorite things about the Lightning Collection so far? Let me know in the comments. As always, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you can get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.